It looks as though the police are still here carrying on with their investigation. Perfect. So let's find Gregson as quickly as possible. Yes, and let's see if he'll take a break from his chips to look at that silver tip Iris gave us for him. Sir. Inspector Gregson, do you have a moment? Oh, I'm sorry to say I don't. I'm a very busy man. Much too busy to talk to a pair of foreign gadabouts, that's for sure. We have these for you. A present from Miss Iris Wilson. What? For me? From her ladyship? Her ladyship? Give me that at once. Give it. Come on, hand it over. That's for me. Ah, Jesus Christ. Relax, buddy. Calm down. Ah, what was that coin exactly? It's a silver crown, obviously, but it's a lot more than that. It's, well, it's an appearance fee. That's what it is. An appearance fee? Oh, I see you mean... That's right. For the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, her ladyship always offers me a little financial reward for featuring me every time. And you're complaining? Yes, yes, of course. I know all about your exploits, Inspector. I read them avidly. Of course, using my name with my say-so does make me the butt of a lot of unpleasant jokes, but still. I'm sorry, Inspector. That must be difficult. Never you mind that. It must be terrible getting paid extra for doing something you were going to do anyway. So, what do you want to know then, eh? Sorry? Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust it won't be a problem, it says. Well, obviously it's not a problem. Go on, fire away. What do you want to know? Well, if you wouldn't mind, we'd very much like to know the address of Mr. Natsume's lodgings. Ah, the little knife-wielding, mustached Japanese fellow. He lives in the right old oval. It's just over there. Look. Oh, he's from that house? Well... They didn't exactly have to chase him far to find him, did they? Suddenly it seems a lot more obvious why they found him. On the first floor of that house on the corner where that wreck of a bicycle's propped up. That is nearby indeed. I don't understand how they could have found him. If I remember rightly, the landlord is a Mr. John Garrib. Garrib? John Garrib. I don't know what that's about. If you see her again, you make sure you give her ladyship my regards, you hear? I mean it. You tell her that Gregson sends his best regards. Don't worry, Inspector, we will. Goodbye for now, then. And long live her ladyship. Simp. Well, at least he told us what we wanted to know before he left. Yes. So then, shall we go and see what we can find in Mr. Natsume's lodgings? Definitely. Yes, I suspect it has. Let's go. This is a lot nicer than I thought it was going to be. What the fuck? Oh my. May I help you? Oh yes, would this be the residence of Mr. John Garrib? Indeed it would, sir. And who, may I say, is calling? My name is Runanosuke Naruhoda. Mr. Naruhoda is representing Mr. Soseki Natsume. I believe he takes lodgings here. We would very much like to ask him some questions about our client. One moment, please. I shall convey the messages to Mr. Garrib. Did you see that, Miss Sasato? That was a real-life English maid. I know. But we saw one when we were at trial previously. I know. As I understand it, anyone of standing in English society employs a number of household staff. But that was the first time I've ever seen one in the flesh. Oh, this day keeps getting better. It certainly feels like we've arrived now, doesn't it? Is this how Japanese people feel when, like, people go on and on, when, you know, the weebs go on and on? Like, it's not like that. That's how I feel about everything these people say. We need only to meet a butler and the experience will be complete. Well, I'm not sure if I'd go that far, but I understand the sentiment. Thank you for waiting. Mr. Garrett will see you now, this way. Oh, yeah. Fucking crescent moon? Good day to you, John Garrett, at your service. Pleased to meet you, sir. This is Renanosuke Hoda. Do excuse me not getting up. Took a shot to the knee a few years back in the Battle of May Wand, don't you know? Earned a medal for my pains, but had to withdraw from service, handed over the reins to the up-and-coming. So he's a retired soldier. It's a hell of a job getting up and down the stairs now, I tell you. Don't get out much, as you can imagine. I would imagine it would be, you know, you must receive a fair few comments. Yes, it's quite a climb up here to the second floor, isn't it? I was panting at the top of the stairs. You really must exercise. Yeah, 1 story of stairs. Oh, crap. Woo! Have to make base camp halfway up and carry on to the summit in the morning. Do you think so? Well, Mr. Garrett, no doubt you were very courageous to earn yourself a merit medal. Oh, it was nothing. The medal's just a folderol, really. Wouldn't like to offend the general, though, so I grudgingly display it on the wall. Why don't you fetch it down, Joan? Let these good people see it properly. Joan, fetch to the... Dash it all, woman, be careful. Oh, dearie me, I beg your pardon, sir. You jolly nearly took the skin off my hands. I shall be more careful, sir. So anyway, there you have it, living the quiet life now. Yes, I see. Now then, I hear you want to know about the chap lodging downstairs, is that right? Yes, we would be very grateful if you could answer some questions. Only too pleased, naturally, especially if it helps keep the peace here in Blighty. We've forged an alliance with the Empire of Japan recently, as I'm sure you're aware. I'm greatly upset that you are doing this. What the fuck are you doing? So this case is very much in the public eye, as it were. Oh, yes. Even had some famous detective poking around, you know, in this old house, would you believe? He might be in the chimney for all we know right now. He turns up in some strange places. Could have been. Didn't catch the chap's name. Not really my cup of tea, all that detective business. Oh, but you have a copy of Rand's magazine here, so... No, they're on to me. Anyway, the chap's investigating the foreigner's room as we speak, so he's in Soseki-san's room. It's a bally nuisance is what it is. The whole neighborhood's twitching its curtains now. I don't like all this fuss. It's jolly unsettling. About Mr. Natsume, please do tell us. Ah, yes, the Japanese chap. Only been lodging here for a week. Oh, just a week? He said it, so he moved in very recently then. I have 2 lodgers most of the time, one on the ground floor and one just below us. The first floor room became available a week ago, you see, Dash it all, Joan, do be careful. Oh my goodness, I'm terribly sorry, sir. If you want to know my opinion... I thought he was a shady sort from the moment I set eyes on him. I'm sure you did. Oh, why? He seemed to have a most nervous disposition, always shaking and looking over his shoulder. I thought you were going to say something super racist for a second there. The man had shady written across his sweat-soaked brow, if you ask me. I said to myself, Joan, that man is trouble. Sooner or later, he's going to do something untoward. And I'm rarely wrong about anything. We won't be calling this maid as a witness, that's for sure. Was there anything else that struck you as suspicious about the man? Oh, yes. Oh, indeed there was. And she's dying to tell us. Do tell. Have you noticed anything else about the lodger, Mr. Natsume?
Oh, my word, yes. The man was shadier than an orchard.
Could you elaborate?
Well, take the man's room. Absolutely stuffed full of books it is, more than anyone could ever read. And he never so much as passes the time of day with another living soul. I haven't seen a single visitor call.
You said he's been here for a week. Also, like, this is a universal thing. We don't really invite people over very often in England. We kind of hate all of our friends, you know? Like, well, they're not all of them, but the ones that live next to us. We'll go around the entire outside of the block to avoid somebody.
He just trots off to that old bookshop every single day and comes back at 5 to light the gas fire. And the funny little man is up long past the time everyone else in the house has gone to bed, too.
Oh, I see.
The gentleman on the ground floor goes to bed at around 9 each night.
What a nerd.
But I've never known that Japanese fellow to retire any earlier than 2 in the morning.
Ah. Could you clarify something?
What, pray?
How do you know so much about Mr. Natsume's routine?
Oh!
Look. I'm not remotely surprised to learn that a maid is that much of a busybody. I understand that neither of the lodgers live on the floor of this house, is that correct?
That's right, they're both below us on the first floor on street level.
Then, how is it that you know so much about the lives of your lodgers? The precise times that they come back in the evening, for example, even the times they go to bed. England is crawling with people that are really obsessed with what their neighbors do, so the lodgers would be even less surprising. Uh-huh.
Good grief, Joan. Be more careful, woman.
Oh my goodness, I'm terribly sorry, sir. Something doesn't add up here. It seems that the incident took place around 5 in the evening. Did you happen to look out of the window at that time?
The window?
But wasn't that bricked up on the outside? The incident took place on the pavement just on the far side of the street. Was there anyone suspicious loitering nearby?
5 o'clock is dinner time in the Garrett household, so I'm afraid I don't remember seeing anything. How about you, Joan?
No, sir, it would have been dusk outside already at that hour. And for the fog as well, I should think that it would have been quite impossible to see the other side of the road. Oh, I see. Did you see anything else out of the ordinary then?
Such as?
Well, something that was out of the ordinary, dog.
Well...
Yes, was there something?
Well, it's nothing particularly significant, but around that some...
I'm starting to grow tired of this already. Do be more careful. Of course.
If I may, Mr. Narrow Hollow... Narrow Hollow?
Yes.
I have an exceedingly good memory, and as far as I remember, nothing of any significance took place here at that hour. Nothing at all.
Oh, really, Mr. Garrett? The way you were talking before? I see, she's just trying to get him to shut up, probably. Yeah, uh-huh. She's doing it just to stop him talking.
Begging your pardon, sir. Nothing happened. Yes, quite. Nothing happened. We sat down at a quiet, uneventful meal. John?
Yeah, that's right, Mr. Garrett. What is the matter with these two? It sounds like something happened here in this room on the evening of the incident, but what? I wish I knew. Could you tell us which floor Mr. Natsume's room is on? We were already told. Just below us, on the first floor. And Sholmes is there now?
Yes, told me Nats, his name, had asked him to look into the matter, so I gave him the key.
Mr. Natsume has engaged Sholmes' service? That's a blatant lie. Would it be alright if we had a look around in Mr. Natsume's room, I mean? Don't see why not. It's just down one flight of stairs. Who knows if we'll find anything that could help us, but we have to try. We need all the clues we can get our hands on. While we're there, we can speak with Sholmes. That'll be exciting. Alright. Back. Move. Let's go. I don't know if there's something I should have examined in that room, but if it doesn't let me progress after this, we'll know. Oh, shit! Well, well, well. What? Just look at this place. And smell it. It's so musty in here. I suppose it's the mountains of old books that are responsible for that. I don't think I've ever seen so many books in all my life. No, me either. It's so dark in here, too. It doesn't look dark. Is that the window? Well, it was the window, I think, yes. But for some reason, it's been closed up with bricks and mortar. This is very peculiar. So this is where Mr. Natsume lives. By the way, I haven't spotted Mr. Sholmes anywhere, have you? He's probably just in the pile. I wouldn't worry about it. No, that's true. But according to what Mr. Garridba told us, the great detective should be around here somewhere investigating. Well, hold on. Before we do anything else. Oh, yeah. Oh, big stretch. Oh, yeah. There you go. Oh, my, what an adorable little cat. Perhaps he's looking after all the books while his master is away. I don't know about that. I skipped that last part. I don't know about that. He disappeared into that pile of books as quick as a flash. Well, let's not get carried away. It was a tricolor Mickey, wasn't it? Do they have that sort of cat here in Great Britain? Perhaps Mr. Natsume brought the creature with him from Japan. That's made me feel homesick now. Already? We've only been here for 2 days. Alright, so that is not observable. I wanted to click here. That desk seems to be wedged into a crevice between the mountains of books on either side. I suppose Mr. Natsume would sit there and read while stroking his cat, but surrounded on all sides by these towering old tomes, surely he dreamt of books every night as well. Yeah, what a fucking nerd he must have done, mustn't he? Oh, what's this? It's a receipt from a second-hand bookshop. Your books. Okay. Oh, yes, Mr. Natsume's name is on it. Look, and the date of the purchase. Ah, 2 days ago at 4:45 p.m. Well, that's going to have been a tight window to get over there to murder somebody. Though we do know he was there when the lady fell over, so... That's, well, we assume at the moment. You can never be too sure of these games. That's just a short while before he was embroiled in the terrible attack. He must have been on his way back from buying some old books. So that's going to be important. We'll write that one down over in the old notes there. 15 minutes prior bookshop. Okay. Let's see. These books. Look at all these books stacked up there. They almost reach the ceiling. They're all works of English literature, and they all smell so musty. With this volume of books to hand, you'd never be short of reading material. No, what a dreamy idea. A bad dream. I know, terrible. Mind you, I don't imagine the books at the bottom of the pile will be ever read again. So reading it is an experience that comes but once in a lifetime, just as the tea ceremony teaches us. Shut the fuck up. I certainly didn't expect the conversation to turn down the path of philosophy. Oh, look, it's a beckoning cat. It's a bit big and bulky, isn't it? Surely Mr. Natsume didn't bring that Mineki Neko all the way from Japan with him. I hardly think you're in a position to comment, Mr. Naruhodo. Are you forgetting the enormous Daruma doll that you brought in your luggage? Haha. Well, it can be dangerous traveling abroad. I wanted a lucky charm. Well, I imagine Mr. Natsume wanted the same, and this cat is sure to beckon good luck. It's not doing a great job of beckoning luck. You mustn't say such things. I didn't say anything. Why are my eyes such a giveaway? What else we got? Can't look at that. Why can we never look in the fucking bag, dude? Okay, window time. Could you even call this a window? I think so. It was a window at one time, after all. Although all that remains is a frame around some bricks now. So it's really just a wall then, isn't it? Yeah, it's a wall with decoration. But why would anyone deliberately brick it up like that? I'm afraid I have no idea. Ah, perhaps Mr. Natsume painted the brick design in on a fit of whimsy. Doubtful. That's alarmingly feasible. And no, it's not. Anyway, whatever the reason, the lack of ventilation in here makes the place very oppressive. It does. I imagine being cooped up in a room like this would be extremely trying. What's hiding back here? This appears to be some sort of... There appears to be some sort of meter on the wall. It looks very robust. Oh, it's the gas meter, is it? I wonder what it's for. There's a... Ah, it's the gas meter. Alright. These don't exist outside of England as far as I know, but we have gas and electricity meters in England. Literally, you just... You don't... Rather than paying a bill, you insert money into the meter and it gives you a certain amount of the fuel. Ah, I believe that is a gas meter. A gas meter, yeah. It seems that there is piped gas in this district, which consumers pay for by putting coins into the meter. Ah, so if we were to put a coin in the slot, that would be enough gas to use the lights and the gas fire for the whole night. So if you're too poor to have a coin, you'd have to spend the night in the dark and freezing cold. That's right, as would a rich man who would only crisp white notes. Brr, London is a scary place. It's kind of fucked up, to be fair, but at least if you can't pay your gas bill, you only have to wait until you have like $1, and then you can, well, £1, and then you can go and just turn it on. Oh, I didn't see the arrow over there. No, 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 no. I keep doing this where I drag the fucking thing over and it gets rid of the arrow. Oh, how y'all not see him? Ah, look, Mr. Naruhodo. Aha, there he is. He is not hiding even remotely, lads. He seems to be engrossed in the pages of an old book. I hope he won't mind if we disturb him. Hello, Sholmes. Ah, you two. Good day. Now, let me see. Where was it that we met? Oh, Mr. Sholmes, we were together on the Burya. Yes, of course, the Burya. And let me see, what happened on that voyage? It was Kazuma Asogi. He died, tragically, but you were a great help. Ah, yes, but of course, the case of Mr. Asogi. It was the one with the snack, wasn't it? Oh. Well, you do seem to remember something, at least. What an honor, to be remembered vaguely by the great Herlock Sholmes. This is Mr. Oh, no, my dear madam, hold your tongue. I pride myself on my superior powers of recollection. Your names are safely recorded in my brain attic. Okay. Miss Naruhodo. And Mr. Susato. Close. Try those the other way around. Ah, ha, ha. I lose the first round. In truth, I had hoped to invite you both to my Baker Street suite the day we arrived in London, but some Scotland Yarders ambushed me at the railway station and whisked me away to the crime scene. It was an entirely trivial case, of course. I solved the matter in no more than 30 minutes. So they apprehended Soseki-san in that short amount of time. I'm afraid the pursuance of a new case has dulled my recollection of past involvements a little. A little. It is a mistake to think that one's brain attic has elastic walls that can distend to any extent. I do my best to forget useless facts, lest they should elbow out the useful ones. Yes, those are my own words of inimitable wisdom, you know, from an adventure called A Study in Scarlet. Please, there's no need to quote yourself. I don't always remember my pearls of wisdom, but fortunately my associate pens them beautifully. He means Iris, I suppose. Mr. Sholmes, we have some extremely important questions to ask you about the trivial case. Goodness, what an earnest expression. My dear madam, I should be only too pleased, and this murky room is an apt place to discuss the murky case. Nope, that's not converse. That's converse. We know that this to be the lodgings of a Japanese foreign student by the name of Soseki Natsume. It seems that you assisted in his arrest, Mr. Sholmes, for the stabbing of a young woman outside here on Briar Road. Natsume. Yes, I believe it was a name rather along those lines. But Mr. Natsume denies it. Was it really justifiable to arrest him on so little? I'm sorry, Miss Susato, but I have not the slightest idea what you mean. What? What? I mean, I can't believe he was looking Susato-san squarely in the eye while feigning ignorance. I assure you, I am not merely feigning ignorance. It would appear as if the pair of you are under some misapprehension. Oh, how? I assure you I have no recollection of accusing your stooped compatriot of the crime, but that doesn't make sense. The good detective of Scotland Yard made the request of me, and I quote verbatim, "We need you to ascertain the identity and whereabouts of a man fleeing the crime scene." Ah, a man seen fleeing. There were a number of books scattered on the pavement at the scene. From the book plates, I was quickly able to determine the bookshop from which they had been purchased. On speaking with the proprietor, I was immediately led to this address. Elementary, wouldn't you say? I believe there is a receipt around here somewhere from the establishment in question. So you don't think Mr. Natsume is the culprit? That I could not tell you, but it was aggravating my faculties, hence why I returned here. However, this place is such a trove of fascinating books, I found myself quite lost in bibliography, whatever the fuck. Do not be deceived into believing that I am a man of leisure, no, no, no. Oh dear. Mr. Gary Bubba. Ah, tell me. Have you encountered the landlord of these lodgings? Yes, Mr. Gary Deba, a retired military man. It was the first time I've met a soldier from the great British institution that is the service. And it was the first time I've ever met a maid from the great British institution that is service. I didn't think it was that funny. I do apologize. As you may be well aware, many households in London employ a maid. I wouldn't say many. Yes, I read as much in the Great British Primer. And so conversely, whether or not a household employs a maid has come to betoken the social standing of those dwelling therein. Betoken their social standing? It means you're not a poor bitch. Those who employ at least a single maid are considered middle class. Those who do not are beneath that. In the upper echelons of society, of course, households employ enough staff to constitute a large family. Goodness, how extraordinary. As you can appreciate for those on the precarious boundaries between middle and lower class, being able to afford just one maid is of the first importance. I had no idea. And it is for precisely that reason that I find great stimulation in the situation upstairs, specifically in the retired army veteran, Mr. John Garrett. Oh. Affable as he is, the fellow is hiding something. Whether or not it imposes on the circumstances of this case, I am not yet able to ascertain. I'm thoroughly lost on what he means. He's up to no good, which I have also figured. This room is thoroughly suffocating for the soul, my dear fellow. I assure you, any man whose lot is to dwell in a place such as this will stab somebody sooner or later. Mr. Natsume stabbed no one. Ah, but sooner or later, as I said. I don't believe that's the issue here. About this dark room. Why is there no longer a window? Do you have any idea? No window? Well, I mean, I can clearly see that there is a window of sorts, but it's been completely blocked with bricks. Ah, I see. The answer to that is quite simple. Window tax. Oh, window tax. What is that? Surely not a tax on windows. Precisely that. This was something we did do at one point. Until relatively recently, a tax was levied on households in this country by the number of their windows. Those of lesser means, having inherited a sizable and costly family home, perhaps rapidly closed windows up, while the rich opened windows here, there, and everywhere, in an effort to curry favor with those in power by furnishing them with large sums of tax money. How awful and unjust, forcing people to live in rooms devoid of light. That is light right there, what are you talking about? Indeed, disease was rife as a result. So, some 40 years ago or thereabouts, the window tax was abolished. But its legacy remains, as you can see, in squalid lodgings such as these, for example. I suppose Mr. Natsume's stipend for living here in London isn't very generous. It would appear so. I've done a little digging, and discovered that these lodgings were offered at an extraordinarily low price. Because the room is so awful, I should think. Apparently Mr. Natsume only moved in here about 1 week ago. Yes, that's correct. However, I don't believe the low rent is explained by the shabby nature of the accommodation. Oh? Still, that is of little relevance here, a matter not worthy of further attention. Are you sure? I'm curious now. Well, I believe I've told you all I can now. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Was it not your intention to become a practitioner of the law? You remembered that, did you? Will you perhaps be offering your services in this very matter, I wonder? To the occupant of this room. Mr. Natsume, was it? I'm not sure. Not sure? On what grounds? Well, I actually defended someone in court yesterday. Really? Well, then I congratulate you, sir, on an ambition realized, and so promptly. The thing is, it really made me question things. Am I right to believe in my clients? To trust their innocence? Yes, trust. Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Natsume didn't do it, did he? Ah! My dear fellow, I haven't the first idea. Oh, but I thought that's why you were here. Didn't you come back to investigate? Ah, yes, that was indeed my initial intention. But there are simply too many fascinating books here. I couldn't possibly ignore them. Oh, I see. Nevertheless, there are 2 facts that I can state quite unequivocally. The man who fled the scene of the crime 2 days ago was the Japanese occupant of the room, and there are witnesses who swear to having seen the same man commit the crime. That is all I can say. Ah, and one more thing. Oh, what is it? I cannot say with any certainty whether or not it is of relevance to the case, but I am quite sure that the retired army man who owns this property is hiding something. Mr. Garrett is. Mr. Sholmes said as much before, didn't he? Yes. Anyway, at present that's really all that plays on my mind in relation to this case. Mr. Naruhodo, as yet our investigations have uncovered nothing that could help establish Mr. Natsume's innocence. No, you're right. Perhaps it's time we probed a little deeper into Mr. Garrett's secret. Just remember, I cannot be sure whether the landlord's secret will prove to be relevant or not. But I wish you every success, of course, Mr. Naruhodo. A busy man indeed. He's gone back to his book in the corner of the room. Alright, is there anything else to examine in here? Because I just looked straight at Sholmes. Alright, guess we're gonna go back upstairs. Ah, you pair again. Tell me, was the detective chap, I forget his name, still hard at work down there? Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Ah, yes, that rings a vague bell. All that detective business isn't really my thing, I'm afraid. Well, Mr. Sholmes is in his element. Jolly good show. Another cup of tea, if you please, Joan. Now then, why don't you tell me... For the umpteenth time, woman, will you watch what you're bolly well doing? I shall be serving dinner shortly, sir. Ah, yes, of course. Frightfully rude of me, but I'm afraid I shall have to ask you to take your leave, if you'd be so kind. Oh, yes, of course. We are deeply grateful for your assistance. Not at all, not at all. Don't get much chance to talk with young foreigners like yourselves. It's been a pleasure. Best of luck and all that. Perhaps you could see yourselves out. According to Sholmes, Mr. Garrett is hiding something, and since no other avenues of investigation seem open at the moment, perhaps we should do some digging. Let's have a gander at the room, I guess. That looks like a Medal of Honor, and it's showcased on a very grand banner. Yes, it's displayed with some pride, I would say. It is a Medal of Honor, although it bothers me that it's not straight. Yeah. What? That old thing? Sorry. I should be glad to see the back of it, but the general would turn in his grave if I disposed of it. The wall's the best place for it, keeps the bally thing out of my way. So it's just polished to shine by accident, I suppose. There appears to be an inscription on the medal itself. Let me see, it says, for distinguished participation. That doesn't sound glowing. Sounds like the kind of honors even I could be inclined for. Well, one doesn't like to blow one's own trumpet, but I was given that for my time in the army. Can't measure an officer by the number of medals to his name, of course. Common knowledge in military circles. Sure. That uniform looks fairly ancient, doesn't it? It's clearly been well looked after, though. That old thing? Pah! Not much better than rags, really. Wore that ceremonial garb at my retirement bash, you know. But I'm not one for dwelling on the past, me. Would have gladly thrown it out, but you know how it is. Anyway, it doesn't hurt to have the old piece of memorabilia lying around, does it? This is a classic British posturing. Perhaps we should leave the past in the past. Absolutely classic. Show something blatantly on display, and then go, oh, it's trash, really. That's a full-sized cannon! What's it doing here? Well, you never know when you're gonna have to take desperate measures against the neighbors. Oh my, it's real. I thought it might be a replica. That old thing? Bah, little more than a toy. Sorry. The army was selling it off when I retired, so I decided to give it a new home. Never know when the enemy might attack next. Jolly useful to have a cannon about the house. Really? It isn't overkill? Be prepared, I always say. You never know what this twisted world is going to throw at you next, my boy. Do you think there may be some trouble brewing, Mr. Garrett? Always is. Take Joan here. Never fails to have a clean apron in reserve. Dries them over the barrel, you see. They dry very well on the cannon there, Joan tells me, which rather proves my point, I feel. It's been reduced to a drying rack. No wonder the huge cannon looks like it's hanging its head in shame. What's going on with this stuff? Look at that. I'm more interested in the bottom of it. It's an enormous screen. It must have been put there deliberately, surely. Yes, it certainly seems like someone's trying to hide something from view. What could be behind it, I wonder? There's been some sort of burning-related accident, it seems. Just a little peek. Ahem! Maybe let's not. I think the maid is going to head us off with a cup of tea. Ahem, ahem. Picture? That portrait of Garrett is glaring at me. Have you noticed that all the little frames contain photographic prints of Mr. Garrett as well? Yes, and there seems to be a statue of a lion on the mantelpiece as well. Ah, yes, seemed to come back from the local pawnmaker with that little trinket. Seemed to come back? What do you mean? The chap who runs the place is a bally wizard, went in to sell something to him and came out with that thing. In point of fact, now that I think about it, I rather often find myself leaving the place with something I don't need. The lion ornament certainly does seem surplus to requirement. Or her throws. Oop. Side. Ah, I did it again. What's he doing over there? Oh! There's something at the very corner of my screen, so I couldn't actually see him. Let me move this box. Mr. Sholmes. Aha! We meet again, my dear fellows. Good gracious, when did you sneak in here? Herlock Sholmes, sir, at your service. What were you doing over by the window? I'm given to watching the evening sky as the sun sets, madam. Yet, sadly, cheerful as the room downstairs undoubtedly is, it lacks an aperture for such observation. So I took the liberty of borrowing a small corner of space by the window up here. Well, keeping an eye to one's window at dusk is a prudent thing to do in London, I'm gathering. Ah, and one other thing, Mr. Naruhodo. Me? I thought perhaps you might be in need of a certain detective's great minds. Wait, he's not talking about, is he? I didn't expect to be going through that again so soon. Do you mean Sholmes? There is a mighty secret in this modest room. My eyes see even the most trivial of trifles. I take it you're prepared, Mr. Naruhodo? I think so. There is just enough time for one of my greatly admired great deductions. Let us conclude the matter before dark. Mr. Garrett, though it would seem you are a military man of a considerably distinguished service, your standing as a landlord is most certainly not what one might call first-rate. I'm afraid, sir, that is all too clear to me. There are two conclusions I have been able to draw by careful observation of your living arrangements. I beg your pardon. The first is that even as we speak, you are concealing the presence of a ferocious beast in your care. Eh? And the second is that as a result of the beast's violent rampage, you have lost something very dear to you. Mr. Naruhodo. The old man's broken out into a sweat. Unbelievable. It seems his conclusions are both spot on. How? How could you possibly? How could I possibly know, you mean to inquire? The answer couldn't be simpler, sir. For in the dense jungle of logic and reasoning, I am the king of beasts. And I know only too well that wild beasts are not easily tamed. So, shall we begin? Once again, Herlock Sholmes is proud to present... I just called him Herlock Sholmes. Herlock Sholmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning. Spectacular. Topic 1. Nature of the beast. It certainly shouldn't take a great detective to see. Oh. Yeah, I guess if I'd looked over there, I might have thought about that as well. What a fearsome beast has been in the rampage of late within these walls. Thus, we are faced with the question, what form might this beast take? For a man with a military breeding, your eyes are uncommonly candid. Aye. Your furtive glance, Mr. Garrett, leads us directly to the answer. The true nature of the beast that has run rampant is revealed by the lion statue. Yes, though an army man, you appear unimposing at best, a fact that has fueled your admiration for the mighty lion, the king of beasts. What is this piffle, I ask you? In the end, your admiration became so great, in fact, that you had a living, breathing specimen shipped in from India, which you tried to keep in this very house. What? My man has got a scar on the other side of his face. Like, there was something going on over there. Yet living with such a wild beast proved more difficult than you had imagined. The chilling traces of a wild rampage are still very much in evidence. I have a different theory, which I'll throw out now. The cannon was recently moved. It was on the right side of the fireplace previously, but it accidentally went off, creating the giant burn patch on the ground and the damaged wall. Yet, as we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this angry creature have disappeared to? Madam. Me? I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but it is plain to me, with one glance in your direction. It is. Your dress pocket gives us some handsome clues as to the beast's current whereabouts. For protruding from it is a handbill advertising a circus show. Yes, you sought to dispose of this terrifying lion, Mr. Garrett, at Batty's Circus. Batty's Circus. A traveling show currently sojourning in a nearby park. I have observed the tents. You sold the savage lion, sir, to the circus troupe. I most certainly did not. I believe I have made my point. The fearsome beast which ran amok in this room was an Indian lion. And a simple visit to the circus now will reveal the lion prancing jubilantly through a ring of fire. A rampaging Asiatic lion. Topic 2. Aftermath. Now, Mr. Garrett, it is plainly clear that you still have deep feelings for this formidable beast. Indeed, in that blithe pose, you distress this loss caused by you distress the... Let me start again. In that blithe pose, the distress this loss has caused you is vaguely tangible. Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders, the pain you feel being revealed by that supporting arm. Nah, I caught a glimpse of it. He's holding the thing on the other side of his face. Amid fits of tears, you let your beloved beast go. The strain of losing something so dear to you is clearly visible in your visage. Nonsense, man. I simply... But what we must now ask ourselves is the true cause of this pain. And we need only follow the direction of your gaze to find the answer. Yes, it's this pile of bills that has given rise to the pain you suffer. Every envelope contains another demand for payment. Ah. Hold, let me turn on my reading goggles. For cartloads of meat, potatoes, wheat, and tea. Indeed, feeding your beloved has had a devastating impact on your financial circumstances. And so you had no choice but to let it go. Yes, well, Now, in a final fit of rage, this ferocious beast carried out one last unimaginable act. Unimaginable? The aftermath... Oh, no, there's a candle on the floor. Never mind, never mind. Never mind. A very expensive woolen carpet, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, dearie me. What could have caused such a destructive outburst? Ah... This time, madam, I am afraid it is you who has inadvertently revealed the truth. She is looking at the candle on the floor. Your wandering eye has settled upon the answer very neatly indeed. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the Tower of Cakes. Alright. I'm pretty excited for how the Tower of Cakes is going to answer this. Ah... There is no creature more dangerous on this earth than a beast with an unsatiated appetite. Was it or was it not once said by a certain noblewoman that if they have no bread, let them eat cake? Food is at the heart of all tragedy, in fact. Whatever do you mean? Having tried the taste of cake, the beast began to stalk its next prey. Ah yes, the Tower of Cakes. I'm sure I need not spell out the nature of this final destruction carried by the beast. There is only one logical conclusion. Worked in a frenzy by hunger, the lion attacked and ate the carpet. The teeth marks in the carpet are a perfect match with those of a lion I once saw in India. Astonishing. Carpet gnawed on by the starving lion. Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes's great deduction of this beastly puzzle. What is the matter with you, Joan? You're pouring scalding hot tea all over me for the 50th time in the last 3 minutes. My deductions can be startlingly sharp. It stands to reason that your cup runneth over. Indeed, my revelations can make people spill tears at times, too. Oh. Sholmes, sorry to butt in again, but, could I make an observation? Why, certainly, Mr. Naruhodo. What is it? Again. Well, your deductions. Do you really think a lion could have fit inside a room of this size? Indeed, it is the only explanation for the facts. The terrifying truth all too often lies beyond the realms of common sense. But wouldn't it be an idea to consider what lies inside the realms of common sense as well? But if an uncaged lion had run amok in this very room, surely Mr. Garrett and his maid would have been hurt, or worse. Ah, that's where you are stuck. No doubt the former military man held his own against that beast using that large cannon. Ah, of course. I thought you said they sold the lion to the circus. And what about the food? Meat and potatoes are one thing. But I don't think that I've ever heard of a lion that drinks tea. Ah, my dear Susato, it occurs to me with some regularity that irrespective of race and breeding, whenever anyone lands on Great British soil, they are infused with a highly appropriate taste for afternoon tea. I doubt. Oh, what a glorious notion. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, it's your turn to shine. I had a feeling that it was coming. A slight massage. That's all that Mr. Sholmes' deductions need. Excellent! I've been waiting for my trusty partner in deduction to step forward. Don't even know. Oh, no, skipped over that. It's okay. You know, we don't know shit. We gotta figure it out. At least that's what I want to believe. I'll be surprised if Natsume killed anybody. Sherlock Holmes' late logic and reasoning spectacular. Course correction. Hold on, I'm gonna sip while we get up to that part again. Okay, I'm hydrated and I'm ready to deduce the lion statue. Didn't see the lion thing coming. No, but if you observe Garib's reaction, it rather seems as though some beast did run amok in here. Yeah, something with a very fierce nature, but it couldn't have been a lion transported from India. So what was it then? We must follow Mr. Garib's gaze. That will lead us to the true answer. Oh ho! This is an ominous-looking photograph. What's this photograph? It appears to be from Mr. Garib's wedding. He looks very happy, doesn't he? He does, but you can't make out the bride. Oh, how unfortunate. Something must have struck the glass directly over the woman's face. I wonder what. Can I look at... Alright. The glass is broken, so you can't see the bride's face. No amount of cracks could hide the woman's plump form. I think powerful would be kinder than plump, Mr. Naruhodo. Yeah, she certainly looks that. There's a lot of horsepower there. Dude, fucking relax! Jesus! Not someone you'd want to upset, that's for sure. Oh, look, have you noticed her wedding ring? It's very large, isn't it? Yes, that's an unusual design. It looks like some sort of embellished sunflower. Is this the fucking maid? Newlywed bride? The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by that newlywed bride. Precisely, Mr. Naruhodo. No other explanation could possibly fit. Yes, this framed print pictures your wife, Mr. Garib. And while we lament the fact her face is obscured, we can still make out her mighty arms and note the considerable horsepower they must contain. Indeed, surely any woman of such powerful constitution would be honored to be described as a beast. Honored might be stretching a point. Too late! The fact remains that beast which so clearly savaged this room was your wife, Mr. Garib. Yeah. Oh, so that's the mark on his face. He received a powerful slap across the cheek. The chilling traces of the rampage are still very much in evidence. Well, as we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this angry creature have disappeared to, madam? Oh, me? I should pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but it is playing, the pockets. The poor, fragile, defenseless woman is beside herself. Well, I don't know about fragile. Oh, dear. Anyway, Mr. Sholmes is quite right. There's no sign of Mrs. Garib. But it seems there may be a clue as to her whereabouts. A clue the maid is trying to hide. I wonder where she could be. Peculiar. There it is. Take that! Your wedding ring gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's current whereabouts. Ah! Indeed it does. That flowery band gleaming on your finger gives you away. For it is identical to the one shown on the hand of Mr. Garib's I'm just gonna say Gary, okay? I'm just gonna call him Gary. Gary's bride in this photographic print. In other words, you are no ordinary household maid. No. You are Mr. Gary's lucky bride. You are Mrs. Gary herself. Oh my word. Well, jolly fine detecting, sir. As you rightly surmise, this is my wife, yes, my Joan. Rather let her go herself go, you might say. Uh-huh. It would appear that you don't live in the most comfortable of circumstances. After all, you are a retired man, yet you are in the business of renting out rooms. Tsk. I would assume, therefore, you have insufficient means to employ a maid. Would that be correct? It's not right, I tell you. I was a second lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment. A man has his pride, don't you know? By golly, it's a sorry thing when a chap can't even afford to have a single maid in his employ. Yes, here in London one is rather judged. A household cannot be considered worthy of society if it employs no staff. Though in my considered opinion, such concerns about the appearances are folly. You mean Mr. Gary has his wife work as his maid? Precisely. Am I right, Mr. Gary? Only in company, obviously, but listen here. This must remain a secret. Imagine what the neighbors would say. Tip-top secret, please. The raging wife of Mr. Gary. Alright, let's get through that bad boy. Let me hydrate again, actually. Oh, fuck, I was just skipping it all. Yes, as a woman, that feels rather uncomfortable. But Mr. Gary is standing beside her husband. Mrs. Gary is standing beside her husband as we speak. In other words, he hasn't lost his beloved, has he? Oh, how true. So perhaps that supporting arm is to be propping up his head has some other significance. Yes, I've already figured this out. Slaps cheek. Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders, the pain you feel being revealed by that slapped cheek. And of course, the deliverer of that impressive mark on your cheek that refuses to fade was you, Madame Joan Gary. Well, yes. You have been desperate to hide the slap mark on your cheek, sir. Ah! It's hard sitting in profile all day. How the blazes did you work that out, man? Nothing escapes the notice of one trained in the art of observation. That's why you haven't looked directly at us even once. To keep your other side from view. Well, And now that you are looking at us dead on, just how symmetrical the rest of your face is disturbs me. Let us proceed to the next conundrum. Why were you subjected to such a violent slap? In other words, we must ask ourselves what caused Madame Gary to fly into a rage. Yes, the gays, but it's not the bills. Didn't Mr. Sholm say that the bills were all for lion fodder? Yes, but now we've established that the lion never existed, which can only mean that the thing responsible for gobbling up that food was Mr. Gary's wife. Mr. Naruhodo, she's a person, not a thing. Yes, well, she's also a person who gave her husband a mighty slap around the face, one so hard it left a perfect hand mark. That is pretty impressive, honestly. Yes, why would a woman want to hit her husband with such force, I wonder? I'd love to know the answer. So it's this. Oh. Oh, no! Ah, someone must be reading this book at the moment. There's a bookmark, look. Mr. Gary is clearly an avid reader. Oh, wait a minute. I don't think this is a bookmark. Oh, no. So it isn't. It's a note written in a woman's hand. Oh, James, I love you. Yours, Mary. And look, next to the signature, lip marks made with a lipstick. Oh, what a passionate and romantic gesture. Don't get any ideas. Oh dear, I'm sorry. So this bookmark is actually a love note, huh? It was, if I just presented it, it was gonna be like, nah. Even though I can clearly see what it is without examining it. Yes, it's this love note that has been given rise to the pain you suffer. Oh, James, I love you. Yours, Mary. Passionate indeed. Perhaps the sender of this note, a certain Miss Mary, is the fly in the ointment here. She's not happy at all. Yeah, give him another one. But I don't know the Bolly woman. You don't know her? That note wasn't written to me. It was just in the book. I don't know how it got there. It was just in there, you say? That's right. That's what I've been... Ah! A likely story. Now listen here, Joan, old thing. I explained at the time. I bought the book at that second-hand place, and that note must have already been in there. So the previous owner of the book was using the note as a bookmark, you say? That's right. That's what I've been saying. Ah. A likely story. For heaven's sake, woman, look at the name. It's written to James. My name, in case you had forgotten, is John. A likely story. Are you questioning my name? And there we have it. Arouse the suspicions of the female heart and you unleash a beast with the most ferocious bite. Now, in a final fit of rage, the ferocious beast carried out one last, unimaginable attack. Unimaginable? Yeah, she fucking started chewing on the carpet. Can you believe it? But surely Mrs. Gary didn't eat the carpet. No, of course not. But there doesn't seem to be any doubt that the state of disarray that the room is in is a result of her temper. No, that's true. So this is the part we need to fix. Let's take a gander. The expired date of the carpet, we need only look at... Nope, one of the candles is missing. Ho ho! This looks like a very old candlestick, doesn't it? The base looks too small. Surely it's very unstable. Looks to me like even the slightest knock might make it topple over. Oh dear, that would be dangerous. Wait, take a closer look. There's one candle missing. Yes, I didn't notice that before. Why is that, I wonder? It's over there, in fact. That's... Okay, I'll examine the carpet. Okay, it's just examine the candlestick. Not the candle. The carpet's been ripped to shreds, yes, and according to Sholmes, the tears were made by an Indian's teeth. An Indian lion's teeth. Not an Indian's teeth. Jesus Christ. Skipping out a very important word there. Oh, look here. What is it? If you look closely at the edge, you can see scorch marks. Oh, yes, so you can. In that case, perhaps the carpet wasn't eaten in the normal sense. Let's rethink that. So I guess I'm just going to present the candlestick.
Take that!
I didn't want to get baited into not examining something again. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the candlestick. Most illuminating, my dear fellow, and of course, the only possible way out of this logical labyrinth. Yes, the remnants of this ferocious attack in which the carpet was devoured are clearly visible. Indeed they are. The scorch marks at the edge clearly give the truth away. Scorch marks? Dog, it's fucking black. Like, yeah, scorch marks. It would appear that this room was the scene of a little marital altercation. Mrs. Gary's mighty arm muscles left an impression not only on her husband's face, she shattered the very foundation of the home, but on the entire room. The force of her strike caused a candle to fall from the holder. You could feel the whole house vibrate. And in seconds, the carpet was alight, and the whole corner of the room in flames. Yes. For the most ferocious beast in this world is neither a violent lion nor a vengeful woman, but fire. And in this room, that ferocious beast bared its claws and run amok. Eloquently put, my dear fellow. So you see, there is but one conclusion here. After the sparks of marital discord flew, this room was the scene of a fire. Mr. Sholmes, sir, I salute you. Rest in peace. Carpet scorched by a small fire. Solved. Elementary. We did it, team. We figured it out. It was a lot less dramatic than the cannon. I'll be honest with you, I just wanted it to be that the cannon went off. It's these dashed long winter nights, you know. Nothing to do but read in front of the fire. Luckily, there's a jolly good second-hand bookshop just around the corner. Buy my old novels there. And in the pages of one particular novel, you discovered some rather illicit material, for which your wife admonished you harshly, it seems. Don't know about admonished. Demolished might be rather closer to the mark, and beast is certain not. And the carpet, was it destroyed by a fire when the candle fell? Afraid to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bolly thing. I was caught between the old stick's rags and the raging flames. Well, it wasn't rags, was it? I'm illiterate. You paint a torrid picture, sir. One that would have been most entertaining. That's sympathy for ya. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bolly furniture started going up as well. We've had to hide the mess behind that screen for the time being. Over there? Well, you have nothing more to hide now, if you'll allow me. That's burnt, alright. Had all my old favorite novels in that case, but as soon as the fire got a hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke. Most of them look fine. Gosh. Then the wife started hurling things at me. What a terrible sight it must have been. There I was, back up against the window under heavy enemy fire, incendiary books coming 10 to the dozen. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite book called The Lion's Pride. The Lion's Pride. Ah, yes, your notorious love of big cats coming through again. I assure you the title didn't influence my choice in the slightest. So the poor man really did lose something dear to him as a result of this beast. Mr. Sholmes' deductions turned out to be correct once again. It can only be described as a great British wonder. I tell you, it was a total carnage. Flames everywhere, the old stick in full fettle. Out of interest, what time of day was that? I'm not sure I can remember. It was 2 days ago now. Let me see. Around 5 o'clock, I would think. So at exactly the same time as the terrifying incident was unfolding outside your window. Even more terrifying on the inside, I can assure you. The whole of Blighty could have been flattened outside my window at that moment, and I wouldn't have noticed a dashed thing. Oh, really? Well, this will all be important later. So, was having a domestic at the time of the murder, and second-hand book with love note in it from Mary. Let's go. Mr. Sholmes. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo, what can I do for you? Well, I think we've got to the bottom of Mr. Gary's situation now. But what does it have to do with Mr. Natsume's circumstances? Something will happen in the trial, I'm afraid. I'm afraid? I can tell you. We're gonna have to be like, you fucking idiot. He couldn't have done it. Look, he was having his fucking domestic at the time. My dear fellow, if you recall, I did say as much from the outset. I warned you that although I knew the retired man to be hiding something, I could not be sure whether his secret would prove to be of relevance. I just knew you were going to say that. I mean, he did say it. Now, Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't lose heart. Bear in mind that all things fall into one of only two categories, those relevant and those not. That makes no sense to me. Well, no matter. It is of far greater importance that you make up your mind now. Sorry, visiting hours at the prison will be over soon. Oh no, is it that time? If we're to accept, we have to have official paperwork to attend to. So that's it. No more time to think. Perhaps you'd like to betake yourselves to bidding us farewell now? I must prepare supper for Mr. Gary. Oh yes, I'm so sorry. Thank you both for your time. Soseki-san will be waiting for us, and I'm going to have to give him an answer. Alright, lads. Let's head back to prison. Never mind, we are being accosted on the street. It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. We must hurry back to the prison. Yes, I know. Let's hail a carrot. Oh. What's the matter? It looks like something's going on over there in front of the Gary's house. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
I know thee not, old man. Fall to thy prayers.
What the it's a fucking Muppet.
Who are you calling an old man, you rum-looking nimmy-pimmy? There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Who's this Horatio fella, eh? What are you on about?
Excuse me.
What the? Who are you now?
I'm sorry, it just looked as though there might be some problem here. And my associate here, Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, is a lawyer.
A lawyer? What?
If I can be of any assistance, I'd be happy to help. I'm from Japan, but I've studied English law.
Tisk. Fine, I'll be on my way for today, but you mark my words. This ain't over yet. Get thee to a nunnery. Do I look like a bloomin' nun to you?
Okay. I do hope you're not injured.
Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so genteel, thank you.
What was all that about?
There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy.
Oh, I'm not Horatio either. Forgive the inquiry, sir, but are you a lodger here in the Gary residence?
Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so right. Yes, I do dwell in this humble abode.
Mr. Gary mentioned he had another lodger. This must be the man.
Yes, indeed.
Do you happen to know the other lodger who lives on the first floor?
Ah, yes, a gentleman named Natsume. Oh, more worthy a polemist in my battle of words ne'er could there be.
Sorry, battle, did you say?
Who is the stronger, Hamlet or Macbeth? Mr. Natsume and I sparred long into the night.
I see. I don't understand, but it seems Master Natsume and this gentleman are acquaintances at least.
Oh, so fair maiden, so good gentleman. I can tarry here no longer. Fare thee well.
I didn't really understand him, but I think he's returned to his room. It seems he's unaware of what's happened to Mr. Natsume, so he can't really help. With Soseki-san and that man as lodgers, the Gary house is full of eccentrics. Anyway, I'll go find a carriage. Yes, I'm sure Mr. Natsume is eagerly awaiting our return. You look like you're doing good.
Oh, it's you. You're here? You came? Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. I can't believe you came back. I'm so touched.
We are so sorry to have kept you waiting, Mr. Natsume.
Oh no, think nothing of it. Relax. If I were a cat, I would purr with pleasure at the company of such fine compatriots. Noble, nurturing, never failing Nipponese.
Oh, now, let's not get carried away. Oh, I quite agree. There is nothing more reassuring than the familiarity of one's native land. On the other hand... Odd Sholmes. It is through friendship transcending international borders that one truly appreciates the facts. Such is my belief, at least.
Oh, it's you! The miserable rotten spy! Herlock Sholmes!
Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing here? I have no intention of doing anything, per se, save observing, of course. Whatever do you mean, Sholmes? Well, having encountered some curious reading material in that gloomful room, and having unmasked the secret identity of that eccentric pair, I decided I should drop in on my way home to see how our divested friend is faring.
Gloomful room?
At least your accommodation here offers a window, my dear fellow. In that sense, it is the superior option. Anyway, I must commend you on your taste in books. My day has been a delight, and not cost me a penny.
Ah, you! How dare you, hairlock Shums! Ah. I've had it. I'm through. I'm at the end of my rope. I should have never come to Great Britain. It was a terrible mistake. Haunted by spirits in those accursed lodgings. No doubt my luck will be cursed in tomorrow's trial as well. My whole life is bedamned.
What are you thinking, Naruhodo? He mentioned once before, didn't he? That his lodgings were cursed, I mean. And that there is much truth in Mr. Mustache's words. What? Cursed is a wholly appropriate description, I would say. For the man's lodgings, and indeed for tomorrow's trial. What's that? It means he's cursed. What do you mean? It's talk time. Mr. Natsume, what do you mean by what you just said now? About the trial being cursed?
Oh no, why are you looking so grave? You're making me nervous. I was just getting carried away, that's all. I didn't mean anything by it.
Oh, I see. That's really agitated him.
You don't mean? The trial really is cursed somehow?
Are you referring to the prosecutor, the Reaper of the Bailey?
The Reaper? Oh no, what do you mean? Please tell me. Surmise it succinctly in 16 salient words.
No defendant has ever survived a trial which the Reaper stands for the prosecution, ever.
Oh my goodness, can it really be true? That was 16 words exactly.
Yesterday, Mr. Naruhodo successfully defended someone against the Reaper, but then, he fucking died anyway. The defendant passed away in unusual circumstances, Mr. McGilded.
What?
Ah, I am impressed, Miss Susato. You have an eye for detail. Actually, the Lord Chief Justice told us. Mr. Sholmes, surely it can't be true. Surely it can't be that having failed to... Surely it can't be that having failed to have the accused convicted, Lord Van Zykes killed the man himself. Oh no, he couldn't have, surely. You have some wonderful notions. Sorry? That man isn't a mass murderer, he's a court prosecutor, my dear fellow. Oh, yes, why of course he is.
Ah, of course he is? Then why are you trying to scare me?
It could be said, however, that the real truth about the man is even more terrifying than your hypothesis. What on earth do you mean? Van Zykes is quite an exceptional man. However, in London courts of law, exceptional does not equate to winning every case without exception.
Ah, that's good.
Soseki-san looks like he's going to cry tears of joy. As you are no doubt aware, in a British criminal trial, there is both a judge and a jury. The judge officiates based on the letter of the law, whilst the jury offers public opinion and common sense. It is an excellent system, whereby the defendant's guilt is considered from several points of view. However, public opinion, in particular, is somewhat easily manipulated. Right. Criminals and corrupt lawyers, for that matter, can use it to their advantage. By any means at their disposal, contriving evidence, calling imposters as witnesses, and so on. By such underhanded means, those who would want to are able to sway the jury, as we saw just yesterday. Which means that even in light of irrefutable evidence, the prosecution can fail. But it means the wrong verdict can be passed. And sadly is from time to time, my dear madam. It is simply the reality of the situation. And that's all right? No, of course not. However, those indicted by Lord Van Zykes cannot escape justice. Their fate is sealed. Oh my. Though the adjudication may see them leave the courtroom with their freedom, within months, they all disappear. It is most striking.
Disappear? But how?
By all manner of misfortune, sir. Perhaps they are trampled under a passing carriage. Perhaps they fall down the Thames and drown. Perhaps they are suddenly overcome by a raging fever, or perhaps attacked by highwaymen.
Oh, no.
All examples of the reality of events here in London, I'm afraid, Mr. Naruhodo.
Ha ha, I knew it. I'm a dead dodo done foredoomed.
Yeah, probably. It's okay. You know, what can you do? When you said the accursed lodgings from before, you were referring to your room at Mr. Gary's, I assume. Do you mean to say the place is cursed?
It's been a year now since I came to Great Britain, but I'd only been in London a week before I started to notice strange things and feelings in myself.
That didn't take long, then.
Everywhere I looked, there were foreign faces staring at me, laughing behind my back. I was so sure people were talking about me, I started to become nervous about going outside. They were always staring at me, all the time, from dusk till dawn. So I shut myself away in my room, but even that didn't help. The fear wouldn't go away.
You must have been very lonely, having been away from your homeland for such a long time.
I had to move a number of times, most recently to that room on Briar Road a week ago now.
Yes, why did you choose there? I'm guessing because it had no window, because he's afraid of being watched.
The rent is cheap. I have so little money it appealed to me straight away. Of course, I asked why it was so affordable. The landlord just simpered and said, "The room is cursed." Oops.
Oh, not for the window, I guess, then. You know.
He quickly tried to cover his mistake, but it was too late, so I told him. If you have something to say, then say it, but if not, don't mention it in the first place.
Yes, well said.
But it was true. It was all true.
You mean the room is cursed, then?
Ever since I moved into that windowless hellhole, my sleep has been plagued with nightmares. I wake feeling as though I'm being choked to death. And in my waking hours, people are stabbed in front of me as I walk down the street. I'm branded a killer, thrown in prison. Nobody wants to know me. I'm surrounded by scary, sinister spirits.
I'm guessing the waking up feeling as though he's being choked is actually more due to the gas line running through the room and the fact there's no ventilation in there. If only there was
someone, just one person on my side. Can no one find it in his or her heart to believe in me? Really, no one at all?
To believe, yes, to believe. To believe. Mr. Sholmes. Ah, me, Mr. Naruhodo? Pray, what can I do for you? It's about the case on the Buria, if you recall. The Buria. Ah, that case, the one with the snake. Well, yes. At that time, I was the suspect, but you believed in me and listened to my side of the story, and you helped us to investigate. I did I? Interesting. What I want to know is, why? Why did you believe me? I see, yes, you mean... because you were a grimly dressed, shady Eastern fellow found with the victim in a locked room? Well, if you're like, yes. I'm a little surprised that the answer requires explanation, my dear fellow. It's quite simple, really. You said I didn't do it. But I could have been lying. Surely you must have had your doubts. You must have suspected me a little. I think perhaps you have misunderstood. I neither recall believing in you, nor that which you were telling you the truth. You were telling me the truth. What? You see, the only thing I believe in are those I choose to believe in. What? What do you mean? I make up my own mind about what is to be believed and what is not. If I should like to believe in something, I do. The circumstances can hang from as far as I'm concerned. But I could have betrayed your trust. Ah! In that case, I should have made an elementary error of judgment, nothing more. Betrayal of trust is an overused excuse, in my opinion. Meaning? Whether or not one should trust another is, in the final analysis, down to oneself. It is a matter of whether or not one can trust oneself.
Yes, he's right. He's right. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
Whether or not I can believe myself. A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. You are so right, Kazuma. Well, my dear fellows, it's time we were leaving, I believe. Already? Visiting hours are over. The guard will be here shortly to escort us out. There is a restaurant near here that serves excellent trout. Would you care to join? Oh dear, there is never enough time, is there? Mr. Natsume, if you'd like, in the trial tomorrow, I'd be happy to represent you.
Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire.
As I said, I only experienced a British courtroom for the first time yesterday, and although the man I represented was found not guilty, I lost sight of something crucial.
Something crucial?
What to believe in, the defendant, justice, or the truth. How to believe, even. But I think I've finally worked it out. I've decided I must believe in myself above all else, to trust my instincts. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. And my instincts are telling me that you, Mr. Natsume, are innocent of this crime. And it's imperative that we prove that in court.
Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire.
I will fight for your innocence until the bitter end with every weapon available to me. So I hope you'll permit me to represent you tomorrow.
As I said when we first met, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who will listen to me in my native tongue.
Of course, Mr. Natsume. It would be fair to say, Mr. Naruhodo, that your mind was, in many ways, made up from the outset. You merely needed the events of today to fully realize it. Yes, I think you're right. It's been a roundabout journey, but I got there in the end. Mr. Sato? Yes. Would you be willing to stand by my side tomorrow and help me in court? Absolutely. As I said this morning, you may consider me your personal judicial assistant. The shocking events of yesterday's trial still weigh heavily on my mind, but it's time to stop looking backwards. Kazuma believed in me, and Mr. Sholmes believes in me now too. So it's time. Time that I learned to believe in myself. So Seki-san has no one. He's all alone, so it's my job to help him, to fight in his corner. Tomorrow, in the courtroom, with all the strength I can muster. Right. I wonder how we're gonna get out of this one.